South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol was arrested on Wednesday, marking a historic moment in the nation's political crisis. But Yoon Suk Yeol is exercising his right to remain silent, investigators said on Wednesday, as the suspended leader was questioned over his abortive declaration of martial law. Yoon's arrest follows his refusal to appear at the Constitutional Court and the growing fallout from his failed martial law declaration last month.
South Korean authorities on Wednesday stormed President Yoon's heavily fortified residence, leading to his arrest. The operation saw police officers and investigators from the Corruption Investigation Office scaling walls and hiking up trails to reach the compound. Their second attempt to arrest the impeached president. Yoon had been holed up in his hillside residence, guarded by a small army of security personnel behind barbed wire barriers. Yoon was arrested over his controversial martial law declaration in December, a move that escalated tensions across the nation. The declaration, which involved deploying soldiers and helicopters to parliament, triggered mass protests and calls for his impeachment. Yoon's decision to declare martial law was seen as a severe overreach, leading to the political instability that eventually resulted in his removal from office. Yoon's motorcade left his residence and arrived at the offices of the Corruption Investigation Office for questioning. However, impeached South Korean president, in a pre-recorded video message, said that he had decided to submit to questioning over his failed martial law bid to avert bloodshed, even though he believed the probe was illegal.
저는 오늘 이들이
When I saw them break into the security area using firefighting equipment today, I decided to respond to the CIO's investigation, despite it being an illegal investigation, to prevent unsavory bloodshed. However, that doesn't mean I am acknowledging the investigation of the CIO.
하지만 공수처 출석에 응하기로 했습니다.
Yoon is the first sitting president in South Korea's history to be arrested, a development that has seen shockwaves throughout the country. Following his arrest, he can be held up for up to 48 hours under the existing warrant. Investigators would need to apply for another warrant if they wish to extend his detention. Meanwhile, the Constitutional Court is deliberating on whether to uphold Yoon's impeachment. The next hearing is scheduled for January 16th, with the nation watching with bated breath if his removal from office will be finalized. Harshita Oberoy's report for DD India.
And Ambassador C. Rajashekhar, former senior India diplomat, joins us now on this story. Welcome, Rajashekhar ji, to the program. Yoon Suk Yeol has been arrested. What finally do you think really made him decide to allow himself to be arrested after being holed up for weeks in his hillside residence?
You can see he tried everything in the book. 3 times he resisted the summons, and he, so to say, he tried to use his presidential bodyguards to stop the approaching police from arresting him, which is also questionable because resisting, a police officer is itself is wrong. His contention is that as president he is immune, but the anti-corruption office is holding him accountable for the insurrection that he has caused through declaration of martial law on 3rd of December. So that is the play of events, and he can be detained till tomorrow morning Indian time, dawn time, and unless the warrant is renewed, they get the permission from the judicial authorities to hold him in custody. He has so far been resisting. He has kept quiet. So basically the point is there must have been negotiations behind the political parties, but they have broken down apparently.
Okay, separately, the Constitutional Court of South Korea is deliberating on whether to uphold Yoon Suk Yeol's impeachment by Parliament and permanently remove him from office or restore his presidential powers. How could that affect the legal proceedings against him?
Yes, that is the legal constitutional charge that he is facing. There also you can see him losing. There are to be 9 judges on the Constitutional Court, and there were only 6 because 3 vacancies could not be filled earlier. But the Parliament has since been able to appoint 2 more. So there are today 8 judges on the Constitutional Court, and it is sufficient if only 6 of them concur with the motion to impeach him, So there also now the earlier was that 6 out of 6 had to accept the impeachment, which held out a little mathematical probability that he may survive. Now that also is difficult. There also he did not show up on Tuesday. Again, tomorrow they will continue to proceed with or without his presence.
What is likely to be the impeached president's defense for declaring martial law for which he has been arrested, and is his defense at all likely to stand up in court?
Of course, he will argue, as he has already put out, that he tried to uphold constitution and resist anti-state activities because the opposition controlled parliament, and through parliament they tried to obstruct his administration. That is his main contention. Thereby he tried to uphold constitution is his argument. But that seems to be increasingly untenable, although they seem to be a little increase in support of his persona, that he is being violated. A sitting president being arrested for the first time, naturally it is riling, it is troubling the supporters of the People's Power, his party and his supporters. So the support for his party has marginally gone up, reducing the margin between the two parties. But clearly his argument may not be tenable. Of course, it's finally up to the Constitution Court of Korea. Out of 8 sitting judges, the majority view would decide.
Okay, at this stage, politically and legally, what is the best case and the worst case scenario for the impeached president, and does he have any political future left?
There seems to be the narrowing gap between best and worst case scenarios, that he would certainly clearly, foreseeably argue that he, as the sitting president, tried to uphold the constitution by overcoming the forces, the illegal elements in the parliament who tried to obstruct the progress of his administration activities and initiatives. But on the other hand, the prosecution would argue that the declaration of martial law in itself was wrong, because the parliament has immediately undone that by clearly majority. Therefore, it's very unlikely that he would survive. The writing is on the wall. He tried very hard, avoiding summons, not appearing before the Constitution Court, resisting arrest. Unfortunate that the forces which are being deployed for his personal security had to contend, had to quarrel, struggle, obstruct. The police, Korean police, were coming to approach him. It's very unfortunate. But interestingly, the supporters of President Yoon are arguing that President Trump also faced a similar thing. You see, President is ready, is sworn in, and certainly President Trump will come to the rescue of President Yoon as an ally of Korea. That's an interesting argument,
It's an interesting argument. So you think that this whole martial law debacle would not affect his political future to that extent? Do you think he still has scope, political scope?
No, not only his personal political future is gone, clearly. More importantly, his party, People's Power Party, is trying to salvage the situation, because what happens is Constitution Court may take up to 180 days, or much before that they'll decide, and within 2 months presidential election will be called. There the party would try very hard to retain power, because anyway they have lost parliament. Now they don't want to lose the Blue House, what presidential office is called. So they will try very hard to cut the further losses, which if they continue to resist, that may be damaging not only to the persona of Mr. Yoon, but to the political party that he represents, the People's Power Party also.
And how far, if at all, could this whole affair affect political stability in South Korea?
We must admire that democracy is asserting itself, and the majesty of rule of law is prevailing, upheld, and the people, by and large, are in support peacefully of democracy. There was upheaval, unfortunately, because of the martial law, and we're all interested, as fellow Asian countries, friends of Korea. Japan has issued statement that they're seriously concerned, interested, and America said that hopefully the situation would legally, peacefully be resolved. I'm sure India also is thinking the same. as a strategic, global strategic partner, that we have special economic, strategic, people-to-people, strong relations with Korea. We hope that stability, normalcy will restore as quickly as possible.
So South Korean democracy standing tall amid all this chaos for now. Thank you so much, Ambassador C. Rajashekhar, for joining us on DD India News.